Hi everybody, I've just rolled credits and finished Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl on my Xbox. So I wanted to do my review of it straight away because I'm kind of full of passion for this game and this series right now. And I'm really pleased that I've discovered them. I'm saying it like I've made some sort of Rage of the Lost Ark discovery. Loads of people, millions of people know how great the Stalker games are. Well, now I do too, and I can share it with everybody else who watches my channel and stuff like that, which I'm very, very pleased about. I've played it on my Xbox Series S using a controller, but kind of at the same time on my PC I've been exploring the world of Stalker and modding and all this sort of stuff, so I'm going to be talking about that in this review as well. And the title of the review is probably going to be something like Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, worth buying cheap, amazing for DayZ players, something like that. I'm not quite sure. So what is Stalker? Because I don't know about you, but for me it was a game that I knew about, but I was always a bit intimidated in terms of whether it was worth playing or not, because it's a really old game. It came out in 2007 and it kind of had a bit of a mythos around it in a similar way, maybe a bit like Armour was before I had to go with Armour. So before I had to go with Armour, I was thinking, oh, Armour 3, oh, it's this big military sim. Oh, how am I going to get on with that? That's very different from games I normally play, and I didn't really understand what it was all about. Then I played it, and I was like, oh, this is great fun. A bit like that with Stalker. So Stalker is a single-player, story-driven, kind of open-world shooter-adventure game, where there's a lot of emphasis on shooting. Kind of quite a bit of exploring, a lot of inventory management as well. That is incredibly hard as well. It's really, really difficult, even on novice. It really is very, very difficult indeed. And when it came out in 2007, it was really groundbreaking. It had this big, long development phase where it took forever to make, and then they made 3 of them fairly quickly over the course of a few years. So you've got Stalker, you've got Shadow of Chernobyl, you've got Clear Sky, which is like a prequel, and then you've got Call of Pripyat, which is the 3rd one. And at the time of recording this video, on the 1st of September 2024, we've only got a couple of months until Stalker 2 comes out, so that's going to be absolutely fantastic as well. So if you just think of it, well, it's just a single player game. That's the thing you've got to dive into, that's shooter based, that's very hard. So you're going to do a lot of save scumming all of the time. So what's it all about? So it's set in an alternative future. Well, not really a future now. I guess it would really be in our past, where there was the original Chernobyl nuclear accident in Ukraine, or what was the Soviet Socialist Republic. But then, in the exclusion zone, there was more explosions happened, and the exclusion zone was made really big and kind of cordoned off from the rest of Ukraine and Russia by the army. But certain people were left behind inside, and certain people wanted to get inside the exclusion zone because there was rumours of special artifacts and things that you could find that have somehow been altered and that were worth lots of money to people outside of the zone. So that's what you are. You're a stalker. You're one of these characters, one of these swashbucklers, one of these thieves, one of these scum who go in, and you meant to look around and try and find stuff. Now, your story, however, is you don't remember who you are. And so you kind of wake up and you're on the outskirts of the zone. You're on the southern edge of the zone. And then a friendly trader says, well, I tell you what, you can work for me, and he gives you a few jobs, and then you start off on your way. And all the way through the game, you're kind of moving towards the centre of the zone. You're moving towards Pripyat, and you're moving towards Chernobyl, to find out, and all these things you discover along the way, and there's all these sort of side quests you can do along the way. But the places where you play out these missions and these side quests and these story modes are kind of in open world levels. So it's not a completely open world map like something like DayZ, but it's a chunk of it. Imagine having, if you've got experience of like DayZ, imagine having a level like the size of Elektrovorsk or Chernogorsk, that sort of thing. Maybe not quite that big, but one of the larger towns in DayZ, and that's what the level is. So as you're moving along the map, you get to these fast travel points, and then you go to this level, and then you can wander around, and you'll have certain things to do there. There's dynamic events that happen, and you can choose to do that quest however you like to do. So you could go in hard, or you could try and use a little bit of stealth. You can choose which weapons you want to take in depending on what you found before. Or you can back off and you can go and do something else. You can do all these little jobs for people, and they kind of circle around, and they're often revolve around things like, can you find me this thing? Can you kill this person? Can you help this person? Oh, can you defend this area? But different things happen at different times, and there's all this randomness that's happening. This is what makes Stalker really special, is the fact that as you're wandering along, the AI NPCs are wandering about, and some of them don't get on with each other, so they're fighting. And then you've got these mutant animals that will be attacking them and attacking each other. So around the corner, there's always gunfire or some strange noises. And you go over there and you kind of see what's going on. In a similar way, if you've played DayZ, like you come around a corner and there's a zombie chasing a cow. That kind of thing. There's a lot of that in Stalker, and it just makes the world seem a little bit more alive. Because remember, it is from 2007, and although the version I'm playing is the Xbox, they're kind of remastered, so they've sanded off some of the rough edges, and I think the graphics are about the same really, but they've sorted out some of the bugs, and they've given it controller support as well. But it's pretty much the original game. But some of the levels, they do seem pretty empty, and then things happen, and I guess your imagination is filling in the gaps. And it's available on all platforms. It's on PlayStation, Xbox, and obviously on PC as well. And yeah, it's an awful lot of fun. It's really fun, just because it's got that great combination of you're working your way through the story, and you're thinking, actually, I don't really want to go all the way to this next level because I know I'm going to have to fight my way through all these different soldiers and things like that. So I tell you what, I'm just going to go back to this area here where I know I've got good kit for that because I've got a good gun, I've got plenty of ammo, and I'm just going to do some side missions, and I'm just going to wander around shooting the AI, because the AI enemies, although they're not super clever, they have enough tactical awareness to make gunfights interesting, in the fact that if you're aiming at them, they will go behind cover. Okay, if they've blown a magazine, generally they'll go behind cover and reload. And if you're just fighting one of them, it's fairly simple. But if there's two or three of them, they can be quite difficult to take on. And they do funny things like they'll peek and then they'll shoot, and then they won't peek the same side. They'll find some other way of trying to flank you. Now, I'm not saying these are like Division enemies or Division 2 enemies were great, weren't they? The way that they would try and flank around you, nothing like that. But they're difficult enough, and the damage model is strict enough in the fact that if you get hit by enough bullets close up, you can die very, very quickly. If you go around a corner and an AI soldier unloads a clip into you, even if you've got armor on, you're going to die. So there is an edge to lots of encounters, which is really, really good. So I've mentioned the graphics being a little bit basic, but again, if you're coming from something like DayZ, you'll be just not my microphone. Sorry about that. You can kind of look past that. And the UI is a bit janky as well, but again, if you're coming from DayZ and you can do the inventory system on Xbox or PlayStation, you'll be able to do the inventory system here. The sound is a little bit poor. It sounds good and it's very atmospheric, but the sound space, if you like, where sounds are coming from, can sometimes not quite seem quite right, but I mean, this is because of the age of the game. And obviously what I've said about the open world, it's not a true massive open world, it's like these big areas that are joined together with fast travel points that you go between. And there's no fast travel across the entire map either. You've got to go from one place to the other, which makes things interesting. Inventory management is really good as well. I say it's really good, it's something you need to think about. So you can only carry a certain amount of gear, and you can get special suits that enable you to carry more gear, but then you can't move as fast. And it gives you those challenges of thinking, okay, so wait a minute, I've got this sniper rifle, I've got this submachine gun, so that means that I can't carry this shotgun, or I've got all this ammunition for this one type of gun that I haven't got, so do I drop it, or am I going to go back to that trader and try and sell it to that trader, or am I going to hang on to it just in case I find one of these guns, or do I go back and buy this gun, or oh, my suit's quite damaged now. Do I go back and try and buy another suit, or shall I push on? Or I've got a few too many med packs now. Shall I? You're thinking about this sort of stuff, you know, which is good. Which makes you make tactical decisions about things as you're moving on, which I think is really good. I mentioned the gunplay, the guns. There's lots of different types of guns, and you know they're old, but it's good. They sound good. They look good. And the story is the thing that I think is really good. You've got all this randomness happening in the open world, but it actually is, for a video game, the story that you follow is actually quite interesting, and the different stories you pick up as you're going along as well. And there are lots of different endings that you can have as well. And I guarantee that you'll get to the ending like I have, or you get to the end of the game like I have. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the end of the game. There is kind of a bit of a new game plus as well, if you want it. On certain endings, but you won't have explored most of the map at that point. You'll have maybe visited some places, but you'll know that you'll have gone through certain areas and you'll have pushed on through, maybe because you're moving towards the end or something like that, and you think, God, if I go back and explore those, who knows what I might find. So this is all a real big thumbs up, I think, for this game. I've fallen in love with the Stalker series in the same way that I've fallen in love with DayZ, and I think I'm going to be playing the next games now. So the next ones in this original trilogy, we've got Clear Sky, which is set before Call of Chernobyl. It's like a prequel, and then there's Shadow of Chernobyl, and then we've got Call of Pripyat, which is the sequel to Chernobyl. However, then you have PC modding, and this is what attracted me as well, because obviously I have the YouTube channel, I make lots of videos, and it really helps if I can find a game that I really enjoy playing that has the opportunity for me to make tutorials about it. And modding is a good one. If a game has modding in it, I think, oh right, I can make tutorials about that. And Stalker does. And the really cool thing about Stalker modding is that there's different types of Stalker modding, obviously, but you've got kind of add-on mods that will do things like improve the graphics and the sound and add different stories to Shadow of Chernobyl or Clear Sky or Call of Pripyat. But you also have, which is quite amazing, you have standalone mods, which is something I didn't really know was a thing. But this is where they're basically a separate game. So the devs behind Call of Chernobyl, I keep getting it wrong. Shadow of Chernobyl. At some point, they said it was okay for people to make mods, to make whole games using their assets, and I guess using their engine as well, as long as they weren't making any money about it. Now, with the Shadow of Chernobyl, with Stalker 2 Shadow of Chernobyl coming out, or Call of Chernobyl, Heart of Chernobyl I believe it's called, let's just call it Stalker 2, when that comes out, they have been talking a little about some other thing, about they changed some of the rules about that as well. I don't think that's going to affect any of the mods that have already been released, but if people were using assets in games where they were charging money for them, that might be the case. But so what this means is that you can actually play versions of Stalker for free on PC. You can download things like the Anomaly mod and just play it. And what that is like a sequel to Chernobyl, so it has a different storyline. It's set after that. And then people have done mod packs for Anomaly, and the probably most famous one is one called Gamma. So you get Gamma, which is a series of mods that you can load into Anomaly that make the graphics look better, they make it harder, and they give you, a different story. The impression I get for lots of the mods based around Stalker is that they're made by people who played the Stalker games, fell in love with the Stalker games, and thought, I want more Stalker, but I probably want it harder and more immersive. So they add things like crafting systems and more immersive gun mechanics and all this sort of stuff. So it's kind of taken it to the next level. So the recommendation that I've always come across, and I would say myself, is play the vanilla games, because the vanilla game on Xbox is perfectly playable. The vanilla game on PC might be worth running the Zone Reclamation Project mod, if you look up ZRP, just to fix some of the bugs that might still be in it. But you don't need to do anything else. And then when you're sucked into this world of Stalker, that's when you think, actually, I tell you what, I'm going to have a go with Anomaly. Or there's lots and lots of different mods, add-on mods that Autumn Aurora 2 and all this sort of stuff, that add different stories to the original game and change the gameplay as well. So there we go, Stalker. If you're used to just playing AAA games, say you're like Cyberpunk, or the latest Call of Duty campaign, then this is going to seem very rough around the edges. However, if you're used to playing games like PUBG, especially DayZ and older games like that, where they're a bit janky, then I think you're really gonna enjoy Stalker, because the atmosphere and the story and the gunplay is really good. Anyway, that's enough from me. What do you think? Expect to see an awful lot of Stalker related content on the channel as I go through the other games and different mods, and this also enables me to now really investigate Stalker DayZ mods, knowing what they're all about, because I have done videos about Stalker DayZ mods and I didn't really have a clue what they're about. I was like, what's this monster? What are these things? Why do we have these anomalies? I haven't got a clue. This is a bit silly. I don't understand. But now I do, and I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, a nice Pripyat map, because there are proper Stalker maps. That would be, where you had anomalies and you had artifacts and you had these different monsters. That could be, and high radiation areas. Yeah, that would work really well in a DayZ environment, because there's so much similar things between the two games. Oh yeah. Anyway, so there we go. Stalker, highly, highly recommended. Get it. So that's enough from me. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe, and of course I'll see you again soon. Yeah.